You just mentioned outsourcing. Any advice for people that want to outsource or hire remotely as they're growing their agency?
Yeah, find out the stuff that, a good exercise I always tell people to do is if you get an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and you put your fist on this piece of paper and draw a circle around it, everything within should say do. Everything outside should be don't. And so the circle is about 80% smaller than the rest of the piece of paper. So everything on the outside, you should try to figure out, all right, should I say no to it? Should I outsource it? Because everything in the middle is what you should be focusing on that no one else can do, right? So if you're really good at strategy, you're really good at sales, but you suck at project management or doing thumbnails or whatever, that kind of stuff, that should be like, outsource that to someone else. But you have to, it's different for everybody going through it. You have to just be self-aware.
Yeah, those of you that have watched me before, listen to any of my other videos, I do the same thing. I say, identify your strengths, identify your weaknesses, and figure out how to turn those weaknesses into strengths. And that kind of goes back, if you're not a unicorn and you're more on the technical side, yeah, you could spend months and months trying to take courses and make yourself a creative person. But is that really a good use of your time when you can just hire someone and quickly turn that weakness into a strength? And then it comes down to making the right hire. I mean, you've obviously hired a lot of people. I'm assuming you've made some hiring mistakes along the way as well. What have you learned from those? What do you look for in people that you hire?
Well, it goes back to the clarity, right? The first system that I talked about. You have to have the vision of where you're going. Because look, if you're an accidental agency owner, you have no clue. You'll just be reacting to what's coming to you. So it's like you getting on a boat from the US going over to London. But you don't tell anybody on your team where the boat's going. So then when you get tired after about 10 hours, you go downstairs and then the boat keeps turning direction, obviously because of the seas and the tides and that kind of stuff. So every minute your team actually comes down, physically asks you, say, hey, the boat changed direction. Can you go fix it? You have to go up. And you do this about 100 times. And you're like, man, why don't I just tell them where I'm going? And then I can sleep. And that's the same thing with your company. The other thing too is once you know where you're going, you have to figure out what are your internal core values, not your company core values, but you have to start with your own, right? So, my core values is like always do more with less, right? Be creative, celebrate wins, celebrate failures, right? Be creative, be resourceful. So those are our internal core values that spread to the company. So when I'm about to hire someone, they have to have those. So I'm asking questions. I'm not saying, are you creative? Do you do more with less? They're always going to say yes. I'm asking questions in order to determine that. Then the other thing that we would do is we'd always delegate the outcomes we want rather than delegate tasks. When you delegate tasks, people are going to do it exactly that way. But remember, it goes back to our core values. We want people to be resourceful. So I'm not the fastest. I'm not the best at everything. I'm not the best at anything, right? That's what my wife says and my kids say. So, I'll just say, hey, this is what I want. Go figure it out. You can make it faster. Great. Even better.
You mentioned sales in there, and I think sales is probably one of the toughest things to hire for. But at the basis of running an agency, if you can't sell, nothing else really matters. Do you agree that off the ground, you have to be the one selling and you have to figure out how to become a good salesperson in year 1 to 2, and then maybe once you get a budget, then hire your next person? Or